Session. I hope all of you had a great day so far. So I had stepped out today. I had to go get some groceries. Today is the maximum that I've gone out in the last 1.5 months. It is roughly more than a kilometer. Uh, the vehicles were very few in numbers even now, and the roads are still empty. It's so beautiful to see, you know, less vehicles on the road, fresh air. So one way, if you look at it, this pandemic has gotten a lot more peace, right? So that's the beauty about this particular situation. So I think this is going to go on for some more days. I'm really hoping that the number of cases reduces. Though for the last 2 days across India, it's increased a lot. Hoping that we'll all get back to normalcy as soon as possible, and life is going to be normal. For the last 40 odd days, we have all been quarantined at home, and we are all itching to go out, right? So that is where we are today. So let me just check if I'm online. Yes, I am. So great. So hello everybody. Um, so today we're going to talk about a case study, very interesting case study. Like I spoke yesterday, it is about a real-time case study, which is not ages old. It is just around 2.5 years old. In the month of June 2018 is when this happened. This happened in Thailand, and basically there were 13 football players and a coach who were going to a different place, and while they were going, they got lost. They got lost, right? This is what happened. So while they were, if you see the entry point there, so while they were walking, so I'm going to explain the case in itself. I'm going to spend some time because it's important for you to understand the case. So the first 10 minutes, I think I'm going to spend on explaining the case, and thereafter I'll, open it up for your thoughts and discussions. So please pay attention to understand the case. All right. You see the entry point. So that's the only entrance that's available for this cave. While they were walking up, they get lost. They do not go home. All the family members are panicking. They are wondering, where are these kids and the coach? 13 kids and one coach. So that's overall 14 of them, right? Sorry, it's 12 kids and one coach. So overall 13 of them. So while everybody is wondering, so they understood that these guys have gone towards the cave, and after that they were not seen. So the only possibility for them to have got lost is in this cave. So apparently that day it was raining. So what incidentally could have happened is they were walking inside this cave. Because it was raining, they wanted to take shelter. So they walked inside the cave. While they walked inside the cave, it started pouring. And when it started pouring, the water started seeping inside the cave. So wherever they were standing, the water started clogging. So they thought, let's go a little more inside and take shelter, which they did. So they moved a little more inside, and the water started becoming so, the force of the water was so high that the cave started becoming full. And eventually it pushed these kids a lot inside. And guess how much did they go inside? They went 4 kilometers inside the cave. Now you can understand, you can imagine how a cave would be. It would be dark, dingy, right? And if you look at it, this is how the cave looked like. A little bit on the bottom, there are places where it's too narrow. Only one person can go at a time. Did they have any other option? No, because the water was full back, right? They really can't go back. The water was coming inside, and thereby there was only one route for them to go, which is inside the cave. So they went in up to 4 kilometers. Try to put yourself into the shoes of these kids. 12 kids and one coach. Dark. You don't know where you're heading towards. You're kind of stuck inside a cave. There are places that's narrow. There's not enough oxygen. You don't know what is there on the end of the cave. Are you going to reach towards the end? You do not know what your future is going to be like. That is where these kids were. Just take a look at this. That's the Pattaya beach. That's where, if you look at the entrance point, right? That's how they, went. You see that very narrow passage. Diver must dismount scuba tank to continue. In case if there's any diver, there is a slope climbing with full gear and supplies. Volunteers will be submerged for a distance. So these are some of the information, but more information out here. What is the issue at hand? Oxygen level inside the cave is fast depleting, right? Inside the cave, the oxygen levels are less. Psychological trauma. If we are caught in the lift for a few minutes, what happens? We get a little nervous, panic attack. These guys are there inside the cave, inside a dark cave. And guess what? For how many days? It was for 18 days. 18 days they were inside the cave. Psychological trauma for the children, waiting for days in the cave that is dark, damp, and flooded. It could take months to pump up water, right? Because there's so much of water that's gushing. If the government had to really pump out the water, it would take months together. Can the kids wait there for months together? Not really. Monsoon season is a threat. That was a monsoon season, so there could be more rains expected. So that's another threat. And water pumped out can be refilled again. So there's no point in pumping out water. Mountain above the head is over 1 kilometer. So what they realized is, I'll just go back. So in this cave, if you see, there's an arrow mark which says team found. That is where the team found. So they thought, let's try and dig it from the top. But they can't do that because it's 1 kilometer in, the depth is 1 kilometer. And while they are doing that, there's a possibility of the mountain to fall, drop down, and risking the lives of the kids. So they didn't want to do that, right? So mountain above the head is over 1 kilometer. It would take professional divers about 6 hours to reach. Oxygen cylinders could run maximum for 5 hours. That's another challenge. So look at the number of challenges in this particular case study. It's not a very, very easy case study. But let's take a look at it. If you can solve this, you can solve anything, right? Water is muddy, right? For the divers to go in, the water is muddy. The visibility is low. They say the visibility could be at 0, and fast moving currents makes it challenging. The water is gushing in, so there are waves, there's fast moving current. So even for the best of divers, the professional divers, it was difficult for them to get into the waters. Children have no experience in diving and swimming. So these are all the challenges that is at hand. I'm going to give you some more information so that you can make a better decision. All right, what is that? If you were there, what is that you would do? All right, and then I'm going to introduce a concept called as 6 thinking hats. Rescue options. What are the options? Number 1 option, dive out. Teach the group how to use scuba gear and decide when they are fit enough to swim and dive through the flooded tunnels. Most experts say this could be the riskiest because some do not know how to swim, and lessons, in fact, most of them out there do not know how to swim. One spot required diving for as far as 400 meters. They had to go underwater for 400 meters because the water was clogged completely. Cave is dark, cramped, and flooded with fast-flowing muddy water. Even with 2 diving escorts, some may slip away from the guide rope, panic, and endanger themselves and even the rescuers. So that option would you choose? The second option is drain the water. Pump the drain enough water from the cave. Pump and drain the water from the cave so that the group can make its way to safety. More than 130 million liters of water there. More than 130 million liters. Enough to fill 52 Olympic-sized swimming pools has been pumped from the cave this week. The risk is monsoon rains forecast is coming down. So though you pull it out, doesn't make sense because if it rains again it's going to get clogged. Would you choose that option? Number 3, drill an escape shaft from the top. Find an alternative way into the cave by locating a natural shaft near the group's location. It would need to be widened to allow the boys and the coach to be, coming out. Risk group is believed to be 800 to 1 meters to 1 kilometer, 1000 meters below the surface. Parts of the cave could collapse, and if they collapse, then of course their life is at risk. Would you choose that option? Option 4, wait and see. The most straightforward option is to wait for the water levels to dip enough for the boys to walk out. Officials say they have stored food, medicine, and equipment to last up to 4 months at an underground base. Risk, it could take several months. You don't know when it's going to end. Air quality and oxygen levels are really deteriorating. Cave may become completely flooded. Psychological trauma, like I said, being inside a lift in itself is scary. These guys were inside the cave for 18 days. Psychological trauma. Now, what is that you would be doing in such a situation? Very tricky situation, very, very difficult. This is a live situation that happened 2 years back. Now, these are case studies that's definitely going to come your way, which you might want to crack. These are things that's coming even before you're getting into an MBA, right? In your MBA, these are case studies that you'll crack, right? In case if in an interview, your interviewers ask you, do you know about the Thailand case study? And if you say no, that basically means that your current affairs is not up to the mark. And therefore, it's important for you to know this. And if you know what they did, then you already know the answer. One thing that I would recommend is there is a documentary on this. Go and watch it. It's very interesting. I think it's a 45 minutes documentary, but it's super interesting. I would recommend you to go and watch the documentary Thailand Rescue Case Study. All right. So some more things are here. You might want to just take a look at it. Water pumps used to drain water. Then there are people who are working there. That's the entrance you see. Then there's the chamber 2, chamber 3. They walked in, and that's where the kids are to the left. You see there. Each boy to be occupied by 2 drivers in one option being looked at is one of the options that are being looked at. So what is that you would decide? What do you think is the right thing to do is my question to you. So let's take a couple of minutes. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to think through as to what is that you would do and what do you think is the best possible option in this particular situation. I'll give you one last minute. All right, maybe another 15 seconds to 30 seconds, and then we'll get started. All right, let's crack this. This is the solution that they found. Now I'm going to talk about the solution and then I'll introduce the concept. Each boy wore a full face scuba mask plus wetsuit, boots, and a helmet. So what they typically did was they said for every kid there are going to be two scuba divers who are going to go and get the kid back. Well, it's going to take good 6 hours to get them back. So they said, let's have parking lots. So they are going to go a little, ahead, and in between wherever there was place to rest, that is where they had the doctors and medicines, all of it available, and that's the station to park. It's like a pit stop, and from there they would go further ahead. Right? That is what they did. So one of the divers went there, checked if everybody was okay, and they had enough food. Right? He boosted the morale, and then thereafter they said, we are going to get one person at a time. But most of these people did not know how to swim. So there could be a panic attack. Even though you knew how to swim, because of the muddy water, the visibility was 0%, like I said. So what they did was they injected the person that they were getting, the kid whom they were getting, they injected so that he was unconscious. The kid was unconscious. So while they were going, if you see the thread which is getting, the thread which is tied out there, that's the thread, because even the divers aren't able to see, so they don't know the path, and thereby they got the thread, and then they put it from the beginning till the end. So all they had to do is hold the thread and then move. They didn't really have to swim. They had to hold the rope and then take that as a direction. So if you look there is one diver in the front, that's a Navy diver, and then there's one more behind. There's a tether. Tether is basically a thread. When the car is, there's a fault and it's unable to move, there's a tether between the car which is carrying the truck which takes the car behind, right? The connecting point is the tether. Similarly here, this Navy diver and the boy, there's a tether there. So the boy is unconscious, but he's just going to follow the Navy diver. The second one, if you see, two Navy divers accompanied each boy, with the lead diver carrying the boy's air tank. So the boy is not carrying it, it is the Navy personnel who is carrying the oxygen tank. Diver guided the boys through the cave using an 8 mm static rope. Right? Each boy in turn was tethered to lead Navy diver. That is what they planned. So there was, if you look at the movie, it was so interesting that one of the kid, while they were going, was about to get consciousness. So the Navy diver went down and then he gave the injection inside the water. That is one interesting situation. There was another situation where the Navy diver lost the rope, and thereby he did not know what to do, and then he was unable to find the rope, and then he started moving ahead, and then after few minutes, or almost reaching half the distance, he realized, and then he got the rope, and then he realized that he had gone back few kilometers, and then he had to come back. So that is what happened. So they used to come halfway, wherever the parking lot, the pit stop was, get there, check the temperature, check if everything is okay, and then again inject the kid and then take them ahead, and then that's how the rescue operation happened. And all the 12 kids and the coach survived this operation. There was no fatality with regards to these 30 kids, but one of the Navy divers died because of some blood related issue that happened basically during the operation itself. Right? So this is what happens. So this was one exciting event. So for me, every day when I saw the newspaper, the first thing that I wanted to know is what happened to these kids, because the whole world came together to save these kids. So they were professional divers from across the world who went there and helped them. Even India was helping them in whatever way that was possible for this kids. Well, we didn't have the professional divers who went there, but with regards to the other missionaries and stuff like that, they were support provided by the Indian government. So it was a very, very interesting story. It was a life story that happened. So what is that we learn from here? So if this is a case study that you should know, because this has become a very popular management case study. How do you crack if there are difficult situations like this? How do you crack if there are times that you come up with difficult issues? How do you make decisions is the question. There's something called as the 6 thinking hats. which I would want to introduce to all of you. This is one of the most popularly known decision making technique, the six thinking hat. Now, what happens is when you make a decision, if you are the only person to make a decision, it gets a little too complicated. If the issue in itself is complicated, it's going to be very difficult. And if you have to discuss with few people, it can go a little too like a debate, and you may not get to a conclusion. And thereby, it's important for you to collaborate. How do you collaborate? This is how it would happen. If there are, say, 12 people, you would divide the group into 6 different groups, so which is 2 people in every group. If there are 6 people, then one person takes up as one group, and they would all wear this hat. I'm going to go from bottom down. I'm going to come to the blue hat. Let's assume that you are leading this particular challenge. Let's take a different decision, different issue. Let's say that there is an issue. We'll go back to the same issue, which is your management fest. There are no sponsors. There is no things are not going fine. There is no support from any of your colleagues. There's no support from your management, and thereby you're facing a difficulty. And your team, which is doing this, has to come up with a decision. And how would you do that? Is basically everybody would wear a thinking hat. Now, if you are leading this, if you are leading this, then you wear the blue hat. Now, if you look at it, what does a blue hat guy do? Focus on control and progression. Which hat do I wear? What else should I do? So this person is going to manage the whole situation. I think you should wear the white hat. You should wear the red hat. Now you should talk. You should, this person is the moderator. This person would lead the particular conversation. That is the job of a blue hat. Now coming to the white hat. What is the job of a white hat? Say, for example, I'm wearing the white hat. A person who's wearing the white hat should have all the facts, all the information. I should know everything about this particular case. What is going well, what is not going well, how much have we collected, how much have we not, what are the issues at hand. In this particular case, how many kids were there, how far have they gone, what are the alternatives, right? These are the people who have the list of facts. They have just facts. They are just going to give you facts. All right? How much money is there? What are the issues? Facts, facts, facts. That's the job of white hat. Let me come to the next one, which is the green hat. Now, green hat basically, now the facts are given. Green hat will give alternative solutions. You know what? With these facts, I think the best thing is we should send the divers, the Navy divers, or we should dig it from the top, or we should, pump out the water. So they are the ones who focus on alternative. They given a lot of new options, solutions. That is the job of somebody wearing a green hat. All right. When the solution is given, a red hat person would, from the gut, which is the intuition, from the feeling, would say, hey, this works, hey, this doesn't work, because gut plays a very, very vital role. The one who's wearing a black hat is the pessimist. They will let you know why it would not work. What are all the things, what are all the reasons why it may not work. These are all the things that you might want to keep in mind, because these are all the consequences. These are all the negative aspects of it, which is also important for you to make a decision. And yellow hat are all the people who are optimistic. These are all the people who say it will happen, and it will happen because of this reason. I think that's a great idea, because this reasons. So that is how each one of them will contribute, and based on that, the blue hat will keep watching and then make a decision. And eventually everybody comes together and say, hey, this is what we have come across. These are the thoughts that's come across, and thereby what is the decision that we should eventually come up with. That is how a sixth thinking hat works. Very brilliant. During my trainings, I come up with a case study, I break them into groups, and each one of them would be wearing different hats, and it comes out so beautifully. The good, the bad, the consequences, the prospects, everything is going to be considered. The facts are given, right? The fact sheet is given only to the white hat. The blue hat, I wear the blue hat, and then I manage the situation. So it's a beautiful thing. So that is about six thinking hats. Now you know one new concept today, which is the six thinking hat. And you can talk about the six thinking hats during your interviews. You can use this as one of, try it in a couple of places. During interviews, you can say that I take my decisions, if it's complex, using a six thinking hat. And you can explain about what you learned just now. So this will add weightage. One of the few other things that I would want to say now, this six thinking hat can be used during complex situations where you have people who can wear all six thinking hat and think. You can also get into each different hats and then come to a solution. But I would recommend to you to have different people to get into different hats. What are the other things that you can do for the other kind of decisions? I have few tips that I would want to share while you're making a decision. Have a balanced emotion. You might have, they say, it's a beautiful thing, don't make decisions when you're angry, and don't promise when you're happy, right? Because when you're angry, you may take wrong decisions. When you are happy, you might promise, overcommit. Even when you go for shopping, imagine you got your salary, what happens? You're happy, you might splurge, all right? And if some people do the stress eating, right? If you're stressed, you see something good, they end up binging, they end up eating a lot. That's stressful eating. So you gotta have a very, very balanced emotion. That is when you can make good decisions. One great example is Mahendra Singh Dhoni. Irrespective of what's happening, winning, losing, he is so cool-minded. Right? He is not perturbed. He has his coolness, and then he's going to make a decision. And that is how, in an interview, when you go there, they are going to put you into a difficult spot. There is a possibility, and that is when you got to keep yourself cool. Do not expect too much from an interview, and thereby you are not putting yourself under a pressure. When you say that I want to crack this, come what may, what happens? You're putting unnecessary, undue pressure on yourself. Go there, say I'm going to give it my best. The outcome is in your hands. So keep yourself cool. Think with a very presence of mind, with the presence of mind, with a balanced emotion. Don't get excited. You know what? I know it. Or oops, I don't know it. What do I do? And start shivering. You may not be able to make the best of decisions. Remain calm at all given points of time. Number one, that's one of the most important skill that you need to have. Number two, you got to know your facts. To make a decision without knowing the facts, making a decision will put you in a slumber. So please know your facts. Number three, look at pros and the cons, perspectives and consequences of each and every decision that you take. If I make this decision, what are the advantages and disadvantages? If I make decision two, what are the advantages and decisions? Based on that, you take a call. Once you take the decision, once you made your mind, there are no two ways. Should I do it or not? You've made a decision, and that's about it. Give it your 100%. When you give it your 100%, don't stop with that. Go back and check for any course correction if required. Do I need to make any corrections? All right, I've started, doing my MBA. Great, I've made a decision that with a balanced emotion, this is what's going to work for me. Which are the best colleges? I've chosen the college, looked at the pros and cons. I've taken a decision, and now that I'm there, I'm going to give it my 100% to whichever college that I've joined and whichever course that I'm joining. There's no looking back. However, just go back after a couple of months and check for any course correction. Well, this is what is happening. Am I happy? This is where is it where I belong to, or do I need to change anything at all? Those are things that you might want to go back, check. If there's any minor changes, corrections that you need to make, take the feedback and start working on it. Right? That is a very, very important part, which is getting the feedback. That is when you keep knowing that you're in the right path, right direction. These are few things that you might want to do when you need to take a decision. You got to take decisions at times all by yourself. That's when you can use some of these tips. I hope you've learned something new. I hope the session was interesting. I love this case study because the outcome was a very positive outcome, because all the kids came out safe. Unfortunately, there was one life that was lost, but still it is a success story. So that is a happy ending, and that is why I like this story. With that, if you've learned anything new, if you've liked what you've heard, please like, share, follow, subscribe to this page. Join the Plus program on Unacademy, and when you do so, please use my referral code, which is Nitin PKR-4915. and you'll avail a 10% off. Kumod, hi Kumod, welcome to the session, and I must say bye bye too, because this is the end of the session. Well, Kumod, just to give you a gist of what we did, we spoke about a case study, which is a live case study which happened in Thailand in 2018, where 13 kids got stuck inside a cave, and how did they come out of it. I spoke about the challenges at hand, I spoke about the solution, and I introduced a topic, which is a concept which is called as the 6 thinking hats, and also some of the tips in order to make a decision. Right, these are things that can help you, because when you join your MBA, definitely this is one case study that will come your way mandatorily, and during your interviews there is a possibility of this coming your way, or if there's any decision making technique that they ask, you can use this 6 thinking hat. All right Kumud, thank you. You might want to go and watch the recorded version of this. So thank you Kumud, have a lovely evening and have a great dinner. Right, see you, thank you.